I guess you see it. So
yes.
Okay, very good. Monitoring from the policy perspective should not be a name in itself, but it should be a means to follow up the achievement of the policy objectives. And in this sense, it's important to provide the context. So monitoring soil health, in which policy context? That's why I'm starting from this visual representation of the European Green Deal with the key elements represented there. You see where soil is a key factor for achieving the objectives in addressing climate change, in the zero pollution ambition, in protecting nature and biodiversity, and in sustainability of food systems. We know the problems of soil. There has been this first estimation, very useful from the policy point of view, of 60 to 70% of soils not in healthy condition, but obviously it depends on the definition of healthy soils. And we have to tackle this problem and to be able to monitor the progress when we take action to address the problem. The target, the vision has been set in the soil strategy in November 2021. So the communication where we say by 2050, soils in the EU are in healthy conditions. So they have the capacity to provide the ecosystem services, and in this way they will contribute to address our big challenges that I already mentioned. In the soil strategy, soil health was generally defined in this way. Soil are healthy when they are in good chemical, biological, and physical condition, and thus able or capable to provide as many of the following ecosystem services as possible. Then we got, you see the list is quite long, but then we got feedback from member states also saying the first 4 ones are, let's say, sort of natural ones, while the other, the provision of a physical platform, source of raw materials, etc., are rather sort of anthropogenic services that you can often only take once. So we will follow this feedback from member states and consider mainly the first 4 about biomass production, and then water and nutrient cycle, biodiversity, and carbon reservoir. So monitoring has indeed a key part in the soil health law. You see how the soil health law fits with the nature restoration law. So they are complementary, and soil health law builds on the nature restoration law. Monitoring is key, but it's not the main aim. It is essential to follow up the results of the actions to achieve the objectives. But that's the key point. So what is healthy soils? How can we measure it? We listen to the conclusion of VJP soil. We need a sort of top-down definition from policy, at least a starting point. Obviously, a starting point that takes into account all the existing knowledge. So we have to do a sort of cutoff. This is the current knowledge, and based on this one, we start with a list, a minimum set of descriptors for soil health. This is what the law will be about as a starting point. So the process is still ongoing, and we expect to have the proposal adopted by the Commission in June this year. Then the legislative process will start with Parliament and Council dealing with it. So in order to come to this, obviously we are processing all the feedback we have received, not only the existing knowledge, but all the feedback we have received from stakeholders in the different consultations and with the soil expert group and so on. So you see here, it's empty still, because until it has not been adopted, it's not yet there. So we are in the process of deciding. But you see already the list of aspects of soil degradation. Why aspects of soil degradation? Well, should we call them threats? Well, threats is about risk, but here we have a risk that has materialized. So we have degradation. And when you search for the type of soil degradation, then you find lists that are longer or shorter. There is not a full agreement on which is. So that's why I would rather call them aspects of soil degradation. So we can also include aspects that are maybe less direct, like loss of water retention capacity. So you see here the list, and then for each of those problems, so for each type of aspect of soil degradation, we would need at least one main descriptor to be able to follow up and to see the evolution. And then in order to know if the capacity of soil is acceptable or not, we need criteria for this decision. Obviously, the measurement depends on the methodology used. So it is important to define a reference methodology, but at the same time to provide with the flexibility along the lines of the conclusions what Claire Chenu mentioned before. So harmonization rather than standardization. And in this sense, the transfer function, so the translation, let's say, of the methodology of the result of the measurement done with the methodology from member state, the translation into the result, comparable result of the methodology from the reference method, which for us is the Lucas soil methodology. So the importance of the transfer function for this harmonization of the monitoring of soil health in the EU. I could go through each of them and share considerations on the descriptors to be chosen and the criteria, but that would take a lot of time and could even be the basis for endless discussions. But as I said, we have to start somewhere based on the current knowledge. So for example, loss of soil organic carbon, the soil organic carbon is there, but we have probably will need to look at the organic soils and mineral soils. And when we come to the criteria for healthy soil, well, for organic soils, we have already the objectives set by the nature restoration law. So why should we set different ones? While for mineral soils, the nature restoration law says, okay, up to member states to set targets. Here we think we can provide with the latest knowledge coming also from consolidated into the EA report of the 18th of January this year, and say that the stock to clay ratio is a key indicator for the functionality of soil, but it is linked with specific climatic conditions. So we have to leave certain flexibility to member states to adapt to their climatic conditions. So you see the kind of reasoning that is behind each, that could be behind of each of those aspects of soil degradation. On sustainable erosion, well, here we have modeling mostly, because that's what you can do at a large scale. But okay, for the methodology, then the considerations would be like minimum criteria for methodology to take into account also the different elements that, for example, the measures that has been taken to address soil erosion, and also to take into account, let's say, events that change the erodibility, like wildfires, for example. And then on compaction, descriptor, maybe we need two descriptors, one for the topsoil, the A horizon, and one for the subsoil, because they are two very different aspects. And so on for each of them. I could share considerations, but just be patient and wait for the proposal, which is coming quite soon. I just wanted to in the time I have, I wanted to share with you a summary. In the law, we can expect to have among others 2 building blocks. One, as I said, on the definition of healthy soils, as I said, based on latest scientific knowledge, proposing this minimum set of parameters with the ranges or criteria for several of them, with the flexibility left to member states to adapt ranges, or to define, in some cases, even ranges locally, when this is not possible to be done at the EU level. And also definition of land take, a common definition of land take, in order to be able to speak the same language at EU level when we speak of land take. And this would be the basis for the monitoring, because then the monitoring would be on based on the minimum set of parameters. And the key point is in a sufficient number of points. If we require a minimum reliability of, statistical significance, I'm not a soil expert, neither a geostatistical expert, but getting from the results from simulations from colleagues, we understand that in order to have a reasonable assurance of some 5%, so of the assessment of the soil health at EU level, we would need 5 times more points than current Lucas soil. So 200,000, more or less 200,000 points in the EU. If we take into account also the existing measurements at the national level, that would mean 3 times more points, and this is a key point. And so the law will address this this need for more points to have reliability, and especially to be able to take action, because when you take action, you need to take action that is specifically adapted to the land use, the soil condition, and the soil type, and the climatic conditions. So should be as local as possible. a key aspect is the flexibility left to member states to define how to measure, but as I said, the harmonization is achieved through the transfer functions that will be needed to be completed, and we will need the contribution of member states for sure to do that for each of the descriptors when relevant. If this is done, then there is an advantage also for member states because they will be able to use Lucas soil data using the transfer function, and so they will need to measure less points because they will be able to use the Lucas points. And obviously, we will need a first assessment of this definition of soil health, and then a regular survey, let's say every 5 to 6 years. Could be rolling campaigns as well, to follow the progress and to see the effects of the measures that member states will put in place. So let me see. Do I have still a few minutes of time? Because I could go back to...
I have the unfriendly role to record that we spend already 20 minutes.
Okay.
Just 2 minutes, no more. Just 2. No
okay.
more, Mirco. Sorry for that.
No problem. Thank you so much. Just to maybe to continue and point out a few aspects in this table. You see that there is also loss of soil biodiversity. So here we have to start somewhere from a descriptor that is common to member states. When we look at the result of the assessment from EJP soil, we see that there is no indicator beyond 50% that is common. There is only one which is 30% of member states. So, but that's a good candidate. So I think that would be a good starting point. But leaving member states obviously the possibility to add other descriptors. Then you see also loss of water retention capacity. We think that this is a key aspect to link with water. Obviously, this is quite new. I mean, in the sense that you can measure it in a local place, but we have to think and to link with the river basin concept and with the disaster prevention, linking to preventing floodings, and also to reduce the impacts of droughts. So that is, we think, a key aspect to make this link and to make this nexus to make it real, to make a real step forward that is needed. Maybe with this nexus, I can close, and I'm happy to answer any question if there is still time for that. Thank you.